to our Spotlight series here where we feature the experts at SOLARCYCLE who are helping to power our mission to create a circular economy in solar and renewable energy. Today, I'm very excited to interview Todd Phillips, our VP of Customer Operations at SOLARCYCLE. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks, Suvi. Great to be on.
So by background, Todd and I, this is our third company together that we've been at. Solaria and Nextracker were the other two, and Todd joined us pretty early in the life cycle of the company. Todd, why don't we start with just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to SOLARCYCLE.
I always wanted to find a career, something I could work in that just aligned with my values and appreciation for Earth and taking care of this place. So I think this year marks 20 years. 20 years ago, I stumbled into solar, starting mostly with large commercial rooftop and eventually ground-mounted systems. A little company in Berkeley called Powerlight. From there, I was just kind of riding the solar coaster as it grew and expanded to just the enormous industry that it is today. I was involved mostly with installation of these systems, managing the construction, subcontractors, things like that. Kind of working with optimizing speed and scale of installation. From large rooftops, it grew to ground-mounted systems, and then grew to large racking systems. After Powerlight, which was acquired by SunPower, went on to Solaria, a small LCPV manufacturer in the East Bay. That Suvi, you started there, and then out of Solaria, of course, incubated Nextracker, one of the industry-leading single-axis horizontal tracking systems. So again, from the very beginning, just sort of iterating on installation speed, installation efficiency, working with the teams building those systems and getting the systems deployed sort of worldwide.
And I guess as part of that, you saw that there's end of life coming now. It's a new phase of solar, and so it's been interesting, journey for all of us in terms of we were so focused on installing solar, and now figuring out what to do when it comes to the end of life. And even we've seen some projects for decommissioning that you built, right? And so how's that been?
When you just started up SOLARCYCLE, just thinking about, wow, yeah, all these systems that were installed in the late 90s and early 2000s are going to be reaching, end of the life before long. And the opportunity to sort of figure out this huge problem that we have with where are these systems going to go, what are we going to do with them, was just a huge attraction and opportunity for me. As a lot of, some of the early projects we were working on were systems that I installed, I was intimately involved with. And so it just feels good to be part of the kind of closing of the loop for a lot of this stuff, to go out and remove them, extract all the value out of these systems, turn them ideally into new systems, new products. It just feels great to kind of close the loop and finish things that I started years ago.
You oversee customer operations at SOLARCYCLE, which is a pretty broad field for us and how we define it. So I think it'd be helpful if you could just outline what that means, and what you oversee and encompass, and kind of what that ends up being on a day-to-day basis that you're focused on and with your team.
Yeah, absolutely. For customer operations, it's really sort of end-to-end on the execution of getting end-of-life solar panels out of the field, from their installations or wherever they are, into the factories to be recycled. It encompasses a lot. Every project's quite a bit different. Different customers have different needs. We just are working with developing schedules and arranging trucks to go to the site to pick up the panels and travel to our factories. In other cases, the customers may not have a team on site able to package these things and band them up and get them ready to ship to our factories. So we also provide that service with customer operations, where we'll go out and offer sort of a field service. We'll send a team to site, package things up, clean things up, and ship it to site or to factory.
In that, you're overseeing a pretty nationwide operation. Actually, we picked up panels from most of the states around the US, but what does that footprint look like today? How do you manage it from a national perspective? And from your perspective, why does that scale matter so much in our business?
We have just one of the greatest logistics team in the business, a ton of work and experience and systems developed to efficiently and effectively get trucks to project sites no matter where they're located. And we've even done stuff in like Puerto Rico and Hawaiian Islands, of course. We do have a nice footprint that's sort of nationwide with our recycling factories, which keeps our costs low as far as logistics goes. But there is some complexity as far as transit times and getting things picking up on time and delivering on times and things like that. One of the values I think we bring is bringing this deep experience of logistics and moving things around the country to make sure the experience for the customer, most importantly, is smooth and they can maintain their schedule and not be too disrupted with recycling portion of their business.
So can you walk us through what happens from the moment a customer says, we need help, to when those panels arrive at one of our facilities?
End of life solar and recycling solar is sort of a closeout activity for these different developers or installers or O&M providers. It's something that we really want to be smooth and easy and efficient in doing. So as soon as they contact our team and decide they want to recycle with us, they can identify if they need any additional support with packaging or field services or things like that, or if they just need trucks to site. They'll tell us, here's the panel we have, here's the quantity we have. From there, we provide a what we call a site load plan, which is specific to the panel type, clearly shows sort of industry best practices for packaging efficiently and safely to maximize panel quantity onto trucks, so freight density. And then it's simple as telling us, hey, we have this many panels. Our ideal schedule is this. We'll confirm the schedule. We'll provide the information as far as trucks arriving to site. Trucks show up on site. In most instances, the customer will simply load our trucks, and the trucks roll from the project site to our closest recycling facility. There at the recycling facility, of course, we've got a great team that offloads the panels, confirms quantities, confirms types, and then stages them for recycling and material recovery. Once we're totally complete with the project, my team basically stays in contact with the customer as far as getting pickups and things like that. We'll send out the final invoice based on the panels received, and then soon after that, we issue a certificate of recycling and a environmental impact report, which is a nice calc based on the module specifics of the total carbon footprint and impact the customers made by recycling with us.
I'm curious because you're involved in project managing a lot of solar installations, and they grew over time, right? Got bigger and bigger. I remember, if it was a 100 kilowatt job on a rooftop, it'd be a press announcement, and now we're seeing up to 500 megawatts or greater. So, you obviously learned a lot through that. I'm curious, any key differences or learnings that you've had now that you're working on the other end of the spectrum in terms of end of life and recycling, that maybe were a surprise or just kind of things you had to develop capabilities or competencies in different from when you were installing solar?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the installation, there's sort of the critical path with getting material on site and staging things. Definitely in these larger systems, you have these huge teams on site, and if there are parts or things missing or the schedule is delayed, it really makes a big impact on the project economics and the schedule to build. This is sort of the tail end, right, where we're working at the end of the project. Schedule's always not so defined. It's really not part of the critical path. It's really important. We're making a great impact to the industry reputation and how effective we are really installing, green energy. There's been a little bit of a different way of thinking about it, shifting the way we think about it with sort of packaging and how things are handled. Typically getting new panels to site, you really want to be careful with these things. You don't want to rough them up. You don't want to break things. Companies these days are, have targets as far as how many panels are broken when they're installing, and really tracking those metrics and keeping them absolutely as low as possible. Picking up, tens of thousands of end-of-life modules. These things are basically nearing the end of the life. In most cases, we're tearing them apart. We're ripping the frames off and recycling all these different components, and they don't need to be handled in the same way they were when they arrived to site. Some of the things we've come up with is developing packaging and things like that are more suited for end-of-life panels than they would be the original panels. And then in addition, educating the truckers and people moving this stuff have always sort of seen, solar panels got to be fragile, and educating them that, no, hey, it's okay, let's throw an extra strap on these things, make sure they're secure, make sure it's safe. You can torque it down and bend the panels, or crack the glass a little bit it's okay. It's not the same as the front end on the install. And then just being available to adjust to our customers' schedules based on what their needs are, right? Because like I said, it's not critical path. If something else comes up and we need to slow down pickups, or we need to adjust our schedule based on what's sort of more critical for them, I think that's one of the ways that we really shine, and we're able to move quick and support our customers in that way.
Yeah, I remember when I was starting to look at this and, just modeling the business and all, it was dawned on me that, normally when you do a product company or systems company, logistics is maybe 5% of your cost. But, in our business, it's much, much greater. It can be as high as 40, 50%, depending on where it's coming from. And to maximize the quantities of panels in a truck coming back to the recycling facility is really crucial. One of the things I want to hone in on, as you know, innovation is really a core value and lifeblood at SolarCycle. We try to innovate. We've done a lot on the technology front, on the recycling equipment processes. One of the things I'm very proud of on the innovation side is what we call the dunnage solution that you and team came up with. If you can speak to that, because I think it touches on some of the topics you brought up here in terms of cost and ease of use, saving on materials and all. But can you walk us through, maybe just describe what that is, that solution compared to the normal way to package the panels, and how you came up with that innovation and what you think the impact can be if used properly?
The product is essentially a pallet alternative, a low-cost pallet alternative. Dunnage basically being something that is stuck underneath the end-of-life panels so that they can be picked up with sort of standard equipment, forklifts, things like that. The trick with something like that is you don't want to go and pick a piece up and move it. Every time you move the panel, you need some way to fasten it essentially to the stack of end-of-life panels. When we first started sort of in this business and dealing with end-of-life panels, one thing we realized was oftentimes these panels are sitting in the field, and the pallet they've been sitting on for a year or two is just destroyed, right? It's just disintegrated in the elements and basically falling off the panels, and not really able to safely and securely transport these end-of-life panels. So what some of our customers had to do in these cases was go out and buy new pallets for the, basically the end-of-life panels if there weren't good pallets available on site. The thing with solar panels is a lot of the folks in the industry know, is that the shape and the size has just been changing constantly. Sort of custom pallets were needed, and these things are expensive, right? So we wanted to come up with a solution that was, one, low cost, and then two, provided us the safety and the efficiency to allow us to really load a truck fully with these panels. Because as you mentioned, the logistics cost is such a huge percentage of recycling of end-of-life panels versus other aspects of, more on the front end of the project and delivering new product to site. The benefit of tunnel dunnage is one, it's quickly deployed. Two, it's a fraction of the cost. So we're looking at half the cost or less than just material for a pallet. And then as far as package density, the same equivalent to tunnel dunnage is 10x. We can get 3,000 pallets worth of dunnage, of tunnel dunnage, onto the same truck to deliver to site. The end-of-life management of broken solar panels, end-of-life solar panels, is sort of an unfortunate aspect of the build. You're just going to break some, they're going to be around the site. And we really want to come up with ways that allow the customer to really efficiently and for as low cost possible can package these things up and recycle them. Constantly looking for ways to make it just as easy, if not easier, to recycle panels than it is to landfill them.
Another thing that you tend to get involved with and with your team is really providing back the environmental impact reports and all that our team quantifies. Is that an important part of the overall equation from the customer side? Or have you seen that play out over the last couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, each project's different. Definitely there are some instances where if insurance is involved or others are involved, the certificates of recycling are critical to make sure that the customer can recover the costs, whether it be through insurance or warranty, other ways. And then also to know that, where these panels are going, and that we actually are doing what we say we're doing. We're recovering the material at the value we're recovering the material. I think at SolarCycle, being founded by yourself and Pablo and the others, one of our real strong suits is the environmental impact report, and being able to show the calculations on truly the impact we're having all the way down to the panel type. The certificates, we've developed a system so that the certificates are issued as soon as the project is closed out, and then the environmental impact reports as well are provided not only on a project by project basis, but on an annual basis. So our customers can see, hey, not just any one particular project, but across the board, all the projects done in, say, in a calendar year and the total impact they've made, which they can also incorporate into their ESG reporting and their company-wide metrics.
All right. Hey, Todd, it was a real pleasure chatting with you. It's been great to, watch you build the capability at SOLARCYCLE and the team. And I think the customers that we work with, like you said, they generally, dealing with recycling is an afterthought, right? For them, it's an important afterthought, but it's an afterthought. And I think the more we've been able to just make it the easy button for them to work with us, as easier than landfilling even, right? That's our goal. And I think we've made good progress, continue to innovate. We'll continue to innovate on that. But I appreciate you and the team's solid, efforts day and night to make that happen.
Thanks, Suvi. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your leadership, and I look forward to what we're doing in the near future.
Sounds good. All right.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Todd.
Take care.